This one's tragic. And this one has to do with AI, not I mean, social media is also AI related, but this one specifically with AI. And if you if you listened last week, I talked about the tragic story of the dad whose murdered daughter was discovered on character AI as an avatar, which he was not happy about, rightfully so. Well, Google and character AI are getting sued now in an official wrongful death suit. And so this is, I'll have to be careful how I talk about it, or I'm going to get crunched by the algorithm. But basically, a 14-year-old, Selwell something, anyway, 14-year-old kid took his own life back in February of this year. And it happened just seconds after his last interaction with the bus. So they could tell when the timing of all this stuff went down. Now, again, tragic, tragic story. Can we 100% say the AI is 100% responsible for this? I don't think that's fair. First of all, one, because it's impossible to know what really happened. But based on the details of the case and this child and his involvement with this character AI and some of the loose reins around this stuff, I am 100% in support of this wrongful death suit moving forward. This is a tragic story. And it's one of the things I have been warning since this stuff started popping up is, gosh, people, do not. I know on the surface, it's like, oh, it's so entertaining. Won't it be fun? I can talk to my favorite movie characters and ha 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 ha. It's not okay. And it is going to go sideways. And please, parents, do not let your kids mess around with this stuff. I know not every kid that goes and interacts with character AI is going to go down this path. I know that. But the fact that any of them might be heavily influenced to follow the same path by it should in and of itself say, you know what? I don't necessarily know how I feel about, AI replication of people or characters or whatever, and people making friends with AI bots. You may have mixed feelings on that whole space in general, but for kids, please, can we just universally agree it is not okay for kids? Like, they don't have they are not cognitively developed enough. They don't have the emotional maturity. They are very vulnerable, and we forget that. And so to give them access to these AI bots that can do who knows what and talk to them and influence them and say things to your kids that might not only not be appropriate, but it might tell them to do stuff, and they're going to listen because it's coming from their favorite cartoon character or whatever. It's not okay. And this is a really, really tragic story that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. And I hope that this family gets justice for it. Now, I hope this family, if they have other kids, takes it seriously and goes, you know what? We are not going to let our kids mess around with this. And again, I don't know the situation, and that's why I don't want to place any judgment. So first of all, one, don't hear what I'm saying and think this is in any way victim shaming. It's not, because one, I don't know the situation, and I know how quickly this stuff can get out of hand. The whole thing's just tragic, period. But I hope parents hear this story and go, you know what? Maybe I should go check what my kids are doing. And maybe I should pay a little closer attention to what kind of apps they have and what kind of websites they're using, and maybe dig into it. And maybe this thing that they insist is just harmless fun. Maybe I need to be the not popular mom or dad and say, you know what? I know you're having fun with this, but we're not going to do this. You're not going to be allowed to do this. It's not okay. And I don't want you developing friendships or emotional bonds with fake AI characters that just aren't governed. And you know what? You want to throw me under the bus? Say, I listened to Christopher Lind, and he's got 8 kids, and he's got a lot of experience in this space, and just based on the risks, you can throw me under the bus if you want. I will happily lay under that bus if it's going to protect somebody else's child from not falling victim to this. And so, of course, just like with Meta, character AI is responding back with like, well, we're going to make changes. We're going to restrict this to not being used by kids under the age of 18, which good. But then like, how are you going to regulate that? Kids are smart. They know how to get around. What are you just going to put a thing on? Put in your birthday. You think kids can't do basic math and do it? Like, I would be very curious. How are you actually going to mitigate the risk of children under 18 using this? How are you going to prevent parents from signing up and then just giving their devices to their kids, or kids logging in with their parents' credentials? And I mean, there's more to it than this. Now, granted, they also are working to do more detection in the responses and things like that, changing, looking for things that violate the terms and community guidelines. Because the reality is, especially kids, but grown-ups are no better, people are looking for ways to exploit these things. They're looking for ways to jailbreak the character. When the character responds, well, I don't think that's something we should be talking about, people's natural tendency is to go, well, let me see if I can figure out how to get you to do it. It's built into our human nature. And if you know me or have listened to me for very long, you know that my position on that is it's coming from our sin nature. You tell me not to do something, it just makes me want to do it more. You tell me these are the rules, I'm going to try and figure out how can I break the rules, or how can I get as close to the rules as possible without officially breaking them, bend them to the very point in which they snap. It's just, we have to fight against that. And kids are not in a position to do that well. So I appreciate the character AI is responding. My question is, why weren't you doing some of this stuff before? I mean, this isn't the first. It took being sued because a 14-year-old took their own life for you to go, maybe I should, do this. But like some of the other stuff, they're like, oh, we're going to put a disclaimer on it to remind them that it's AI, not a real person. That's not going to help. No teenager, no adult is interacting with a character on character AI and going, oh, this is AI because I actually thought Sonic the Hedgehog was alive. And I mean, come on, really? And some of this stuff is like, that's the best you can do. And also one of the other ones that I was like, I guess, like, oh, it's going to give you a notification when you've used excessive amounts of time in a session. Are you going to put a big dismiss button on there? Because we're in the attention economy. And I can promise you, the investors of character AI and the execs whose bonuses are based on the performance of character AI, I mean, they don't want to get sued, but they also don't want you putting your phone down if you're in a really intense session with one of the characters and, this warning comes up and actually turns off the device. They kind of don't want to do that either. And so I'm really curious how the app is going to change as a result of this. But I also hope that this lawsuit moves forward and actually makes tech companies think twice about it, because this is the kind of stuff that I think Miles back at OpenAI, he's probably seeing even more than this. But this is the kind of stuff these folks who are close to it are seeing and going, hey, we got to think about this, or we're going to end up where we are with social media today. And the thing with AI is it's not going to take decades to get there. It's going to take months, maybe years, for us to see real harsh consequences from this stuff. And so my heart goes out to the family who lost their child. I can only imagine what you're going through, and I'm so sorry for that. And to other parents, please don't let your kids mess around with this. Be attentive, kind of like the social media thing. Be a parent. Know what they're up to, know what they're involved with, be monitoring it. Sometimes it's okay for your kids to get grouchy at you because you have a boundary or a barrier that isn't popular, or maybe their friends' parents aren't holding. But for the sake of the protection of your children, it's worth it, because you don't want to be the parent on the other side of this. And it's not worth it.